Hello and welcome back. My name is Dr. Mamoon Najjar, and I am on a mission to change lives and guide people to live a life filled with meaning, impact, and fulfillment. To achieve this goal, I have created this YouTube series based on my book, An Intelligent Pursuit of Optimal Being, in order to share the key principles that can help anyone create a life of contribution, success, and joy. Welcome to Chapter 2 of our journey. This chapter is called Looking Within. Throughout this video we will explore how intentions, when rooted in strong values and guided by consistent self-reflection, form the foundation for meaningful goals, lasting success, and moral clarity. So sit back and look within as we go on the next chapter of this journey. Our challenges and difficulties often have little to do with our intentions. Many catastrophic failures begin with the noblest of intentions. Good intentions can be a powerful tool for achieving long-term fulfillment and life goals. However, like anything worthwhile, they require consideration and forethought. Otherwise, they can set the stage for unrealistic expectations, flawed methods, and increased frustration. This chapter focuses on intentions and the work needed to achieving them. It details how values are derived from focused effort, honest assessment of ourselves, and adjusting our thinking to achieve our goals. How do we infuse our intentions with the kind of purpose and emotional energy that can lead not only to a successful destination, but to a fulfilling journey? Intention is the starting point of the foundation of purpose. It is the honest answer to why we do what we do. Everything we build in pursuit of that purpose can flourish or struggle based on the strength of its foundation. To address this common problem, we must ask ourselves, what purpose are we acting towards? Or more specifically, what purpose are our intentions intended to achieve? Examining that purpose and then adjusting our approach to it is the first practical step towards attaining some of the happiness, meaning, and depth we all seek. According to Lisa Miller, a Columbia University psychologist and author of The Awakened Brain, success is easier to achieve within a frame of holistic purpose and design, outside the addiction of goals. The power of self-reflection. Values define purpose and intent, and reflect what we care about. We will only spend the time required to succeed at any task if we apply some value to the process, something that is personally important to us, and that we feel is worth hard work and sacrifice. Those values may be noble or selfish, but whatever they are, they will significantly affect your intentions. They could play an oversized role in whether you are satisfied or frustrated. This brings us to the power of self-reflection, which in this case refers to our ability to perceive what values are important to us and how they inform and guide our purpose and intent. We rarely pause to reflect on our values, what they are, why we have them, and what we do in pursuit of them. We can even question whether our values are good or bad. Self-reflection means we stop and consider what our values are, where we acquired them, how we apply them, and what we ultimately hope to gain from them. Self-reflection can help us determine how well we adhere to them as we progress toward our goals, helping us identify and quantify legitimate milestones. Methods of self-reflection vary widely and are not the primary purview of this book, but they are commonplace and you may already practice them. The following quote from Steve Maraboli, "Life, the truth, and being free speak to our values and intention. The best way to succeed is to have a specific intent, a clear vision, a plan of action, and the ability to maintain clarity. Those are the 4 pillars of success." The most vital guidelines for our efforts in life stem from our values. We often use our values to help orient ourselves at the beginning of our various journeys. Our values determine what we must do to reach our goals and how to do it without conflicting with our values. Our intentions are often informed by our values and begin in the pursuit of our values. However, intentions and values are not the same. So how do we avoid conflating them? You have already taken the first and most vital step. Distinguishing intent from value allows you to clarify their functions on your journey and approach them appropriately. An intention is your commitment to a goal. A value is what you build on the way to reaching it. Let us begin with intention, which forms the foundation of our journey. Intention means planning, seeing where you want to go, and preparing a plan to take you there. That, in turn, requires 2 things: the criteria for achieving this goal and the time it will take to achieve it. This is a straightforward and basic equation we often make without thinking. When we get up in the morning, we make a plan for the chores we have to do, activities we want to accomplish, and places we need to go. such as a shopping trip with multiple locations to visit. We evaluate what we need to do and estimate the steps it will take to complete them. It is the same with larger goals and purposes, and yet we are so accustomed to establishing intention that we don't pause to think about what might be required for a purpose that may take years or longer. We must strive to keep our eye on the ball. Naturally, each goal uses different criteria to gauge its success and can vary widely. Yet every goal has things in common, not only in ways to effectively pursue them, but also in potential pitfalls and hazards one can look out for on the way. Let us examine these commonalities and how they apply to our goals more closely. Energy and resource allocation. Understanding what elements your project needs is critical to ensuring every aspect of it is adequately addressed. For instance, let's say you want to become a mechanical engineer, but rather than taking the courses and credits you need for your degree, you take elective classes on kite building instead. You may have damaged what otherwise could have been an excellent start to a career in mechanical engineering. You have failed to allocate energy and resources towards studying the basics of mechanical engineering, which makes all of your kite flying skills useless. What about if you want to build a spiritually fulfilling marriage by treating your sex life as an intense, regular expression of your love for each other? If, over time, you begin to think of your sex life as a chore, rather than considering it a bond that keeps you together, your goal for a loving, long-lasting relationship will likely be problematic. What is the sense of raising thoroughbred horses, your life's dream, if you neglect their training and leave the stall and barn doors open? In these cases, a more robust initial assessment of the requirements could have significantly impacted the goal's success or failure. Stopping to gauge how many of those requirements had been met might have prevented a disaster. Furthermore, this strategy requires one to think through each action, both in terms of how it will work towards a larger goal without sacrificing additional values or losing sight of your objective. Put another way, having good intent and consistently employing this strategy requires balance. Do not fixate on one value to the exclusion of others or jump from one focus to another intermittently, feeling that you are being productive while achieving very little. Prepare and accurately estimate the resources you need at the beginning of your project to help mitigate or even prevent such struggles. While this may seem obvious, recall what we covered in the first chapter and the harmful effects that can come with overworking. These fixations can sabotage your attempts to achieve your goal and come in myriad forms. As the saying goes, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, even those that start as an attempt to improve our lives. The larger goal comprises many smaller steps, or as the poet Rumi put it, I am the dust in the path of the faithful. However, the universes shall not orbit without me. He's speaking of the balance point, the dual nature of large and small, big or little, and how they are connected. That balance point is everywhere. Employing the strategy of intention requires consistency and continuous focus. One might start with noble intentions and a plan to apply them, but without any persistent follow-through, this effort is meaningless. Of course, it's easy enough to say, focus on your objective, but applying it can be exceedingly challenging. After all, habits, especially evil ones, are difficult to break. A National Science Foundation study found that the average person has between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts daily. Most of them are harmful, and an astonishing 95% are repetitions of the thoughts they had experienced the previous day. This over-analysis of oneself and circumstances, along with the comfort that comes from repetition, can often prevent us from making lasting life changes, let alone becoming fully realized human beings. So how does one focus? What are the practical steps to doing so? Focus begins by engaging with your environment now at whatever moment you exist, and applying your efforts to what can be accomplished there. Within that environment, determine what steps can be taken to advance your goal and what other activities must also be considered. A little prayer, supplication, or praise also goes a long way by silencing the chatter and enhancing focus. That usually entails getting yourself out of your comfort zone, which means it will be uncomfortable no matter your goals. You must wrestle yourself out of your comfort zone to make necessary changes. Continuously being in focus will become instinct within weeks or months. This in turn will make the achievement of your present and future goals more accessible. Focus can apply to any goal you wish to achieve, but it's worth pausing and reflecting on one particular type of goal: moral clarity. Changing the factors in your environment means you must consider others and act without harming them or their intentions. Doing so with the same instinctive regularity that we apply to other goals makes us more compassionate and supportive of others. After all, if you upset other people's capacity to achieve their values, you are likely to bring suffering into your life as a result. Be sensitive to the feelings of others when employing this aspect of the strategy of good intentions. Be mindful of whether any action could adversely affect someone else, no matter how seemingly insignificant. In the long term, there could be severe repercussions. If you think that even minor harm won't come back to you, consider the following quote inspired by abolitionist and Unitarian minister Theodore Parker, commonly attributed to Martin Luther King Jr. "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice." While some cynics may dismiss this as an overused platitude, consider that Reverend Theodore Parker made these remarks during antebellum slavery in 1853. Look at the facts of the world. You see a continual and progressive triumph of the right. I do not pretend to understand the moral universe, the arc is long and my eye reaches it, but only a little way. I cannot calculate the curve and complete the figure by the experience of sight. I can divine it by conscience. But from what I see, I am sure it bends towards justice. To this I add, the universe's arc also bends towards intentions derived from moral clarity. If you still aren't convinced of the truth in Parker's words, stop and consider that chattel slavery, along with all forms of legal discrimination based on race, has been eradicated. These quotes refer to the general observation wherein all units of society, from the level of a single individual to massive social institutions like megacorporations, government agencies, and the people within a culture, reward a person's virtue and punish vice. Granted, minor, impulsive infringements on others tend to be punished sooner than more well-planned or concealed attacks on people's rights, but eventually, people's actions come back to either haunt or to honor them. The same is true for righteous behavior. Small, impulsive good deeds are rewarded quicker than beneficial long-term projects. This concept is not exclusive to the West and has deep roots in Eastern religion and philosophy. It involves the notion that planting good intentions will yield positive rewards and evil intentions will ruin one's life. In Hinduism and Buddhism, this is called karma. In Islamic culture, it's called qistas, the origin of the word justice. The universe is a closed circle. Whatever you put into it comes back to you. No empirical data proves that the universe punishes evildoers and rewards the virtuous. However, there are prominent examples and patterns of people who have focused their minds on achieving, but at the expense of others. People like this have invited destruction into their lives and suffered for it. Conversely, there are noteworthy examples of people who focused their minds on a specific achievement while benefiting others and yielded immense rewards. Beginning in the 1990s, however, Madoff constructed and employed a massive Ponzi scheme which, by the time of his arrest in 2008, had defrauded thousands of business people out of tens of billions of dollars. During the scandal, Madoff donated to several political campaigns. His sons Andrew and Mark, who had received tens of millions of dollars from their parents, were noteworthy philanthropists. But beyond this facade of success and apparent goodwill, Madoff was distraught. Federal authorities began an investigation after being tipped off from other business people, but the investigation did not find sufficient reason to convict him. Madoff confessed to his sons about the fraudulent scheme he'd been running. In the end, his sons witnessed Bernie Madoff's arrest. Later, his son Mark committed suicide by hanging. The other succumbed to lymphoma. Madoff spent the rest of his life incarcerated, but the effects of his crimes live on through the people whose lives he ruined. As a contrary example, Toyota's model focused on value, quality, and reliability. They were rendering their models to be the best sellers in the United States market. Meanwhile, the U.S. auto industry focused on resale, so cars were designed to die within 7 years and become obsolete. They were forced to change course after they were saved from bankruptcy with taxpayer money. After the 2007 economic meltdown, the Obama administration mandated that they focus on quality and reliability, and they complied. The lesson here is that you must do what's necessary for the common good, not choose profits over people. They teach in business schools that quality is profitable, or as the Quran puts it, what benefits people remains on the earth. In the end, what goes around comes around. To summarize this effect more poetically, reflect on the following quote: "He who intended to do good but did not do it, one good was recorded for him, and he who intended to do good and also did it, 10 to 700 good deeds were recorded for him." and if he intended evil but did not commit it, no entry was made against his name. But if he committed that, it was recorded. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Much of the produce consumed in the United States is imported from Mexico, which receives some agricultural fertilizer from Russia. To efficiently manufacture and ship this fertilizer, Russian firms need computer and software technology, which companies in the United States supply. Economists are well aware of this phenomenon. Global economic interconnectedness has enriched people of all nations and made them more dependent upon each other for survival and prosperity. In the 1920s, the U.S. government removed all wolves and other carnivores from Yellowstone National Park, which had a profoundly negative effect on the wilderness in ways they couldn't have imagined. Without carnivores, the elk population grew exponentially. With the elk grazing habits unchecked, the vegetation changed, which caused the beaver population to die out. Wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone in 1995, causing the park's ecosystem to rebalance. The elk and deer population returned to normal, ending overgrazing. This allowed willows and aspen to return to the landscape. Riverbanks stabilized and rivers recovered and flowed in new directions. Eagles, beavers, foxes, and badgers returned, as did songbirds. Similar patterns can be found in the heavens, and our understanding of the universe beyond our world began with recognizing them. Early humans recognized how random collections of stars would return to the same points in the sky during the exact times of the year, while stars nearer to Earth, later identified as planets, moved differently yet were still distinct from the others. Through observing these larger patterns, we came to understand the movements of the solar system, and seemingly random bodies orbit each other in alignment with principles such as gravity and inertia. Countless examples exist in the world around us, from the tiniest atoms, whose particles move in harmony, to entire galaxies whose rotating spirals contain untold millions of stars and planets. Everything is designed with a purpose. Everything heads towards some expression or goal. And if that goal is long-lasting, if it creates a good that endures or is self-propagating that many people benefit from, the things that are left behind for you and which will do good for you are the things that will be good for a long time. They are the things that last. We are here to deliver and add value. We are here for a purpose, long-lasting and propagating. We keep our intentions pure and right because it allows us to live for that purpose. Doing so takes us into the future with grace. Success feels successful when it is within a holistic frame of purpose. On this path, we need solid values, resource channeling, and a consistent moral foundation. What are we going to look like 50 years from now? How will our children and grandchildren behave once we're gone? What you do today, how you do it, and how smart you are about it will matter then. It's going to matter 1,000 years from now. It will matter eternally. And it's how we will outlive our brief lives on Earth into a more profound and meaningful connection with the cosmos. Thank you for joining me on the second chapter of this journey. I hope you can take this time to reflect back on what we have gone over. To make things easier, here are some of my key takeaways from this part of the chapter. In the next video, we will go over Chapter 3 of my book, where we will look at how we can achieve growth through struggle, which coincidentally is the title of this chapter. Inshallah, we will see each other then. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وأخبتوا إلى ربهم أولئك أصحاب الجنة هم فيها خالدون